Yo, what is up, Pokemon trainers and fans? This is Aqua-Jet Brett. So, today I'm going to give you guys my top 5 Pokemon video games. What you're seeing here is actually a little bit of footage from a ROM of Pokemon Silver version, which is the first video game I ever owned. Yes, that's right. Pokemon is what started me as a gamer. And again, this is Aqua-Jet Brett, in case you missed that. So, I'm going to go ahead and just let you guys know, these are my favorites. If your favorites aren't on here, oh well, I'm sorry, this is mine. I'm only saying that because I've noticed that a lot of PokeTubers get crap for some of their favorites. Coming in at number 5, we have Pokemon Platinum version, which, by the way, was my favorite of the Gen 4 games. Even though I do like Heart Gold and Soul Silver, Platinum was still really awesome. However, honestly, I mean, you can't not like this game. I mean, if you do, I'm so surprised because, look, it had a great story, it had great Pokemon, it has, I mean, Gen 4 greatly expands upon the lore in the Pokemon world. And Pokemon Platinum, I think, is a great compilation and even an extra addition to Gen 4. Because it's like a mix of Pearl and Diamond, which is like awesome. In that game, I actually started off with the Chimchar line. Of course, we went from Chimchar to Inferno to Infernape, and I remember my Infernape was totally epic. It was a boss. I thought it had close combat, it had Flare Blitz, which, by the way, was one of my favorite moves at the time. Still kind of is when it comes to fire. I remember it had I thought it Mach Punch and Blast Burn. It was just awesome. Blast Burn was my favorite. Was also one of my favorites when it came to fire moves. My favorite feature in the game is actually the Distortion World. Because later in the game, like once you're like at your final confrontation with Team Plasma, at least with Cyrus, you're at the top of Mount Coronet. You're at the Spire, and all you see is crazy stuff going on. You got Cyrus taking control of Palkia and Dialga. But then Giratina just shows up out of nowhere and warps you guys to the Distortion Realm, where Mesprit, Uxie, and Azelf guide you through it, and then you end up catching none other than Giratina. With my awesome Infernape, I kick your butt, because why not? Number 4 on our list is Pokemon Emerald version. Now, this was actually my second Pokemon game. I think, yeah, it was the second Pokemon game that I ever owned, and I was blown away. The graphics looked nothing like what I saw in Pokemon Silver. In fact, they were greatly expanded upon, like greatly improved and all that. I was like, whoa, what? I was like, what is this? It looks so cool. It looks just like on the TV show. Not really, but at the time as a kid, I thought that was what that looked like. Because it really did. It looked a lot like it to me. Especially compared to Gen 2 and nowadays looking back at Gen 1. Because back then I had never seen a Gen 1 game. I started out with... Yeah, that there's a picture of one of my favorite parts of the game. I'll tell you who I started with in a sec. I really like how it brings together Ruby and Sapphire, because in Ruby and Sapphire, I mean, both of them, you have only one, yet you still have both evil teams, but only one of them is really the bad guy. But in Emerald, you got both of them coming at each other's throats, while they're also both trying to execute their own plans, while foiling each other, so it's really cool. And then you end up going to get Rayquaza to save the world. Like, holy crap. That's insane. I started off with the Torchic line because, well, when I saw in the Pokemon anime Harrison's Blaziken when he was fighting Ash Ketchum in the Johto League, I was like, holy crap, that is so cool, I want a Blaziken. And I kept looking for him in my Pokemon Silver, not realizing that the Hoenn region is not in Pokemon Silver. Again, I was a little kid, I didn't really understand. We have Pokemon White version. Yes, Pokemon White and not Black. Like, okay, so I bought them at the same time, but I like Zekrom more than Reshiram. I mean, he's a black dragon. I'm a sucker for black dragons, okay? Plus, well, fire type is one of my favorite types, and so is dragon. I didn't think Reshiram was I mean, it's a great culmination of the two, but it's not. I think the Pokemon could do better with a fire dragon. I mean, they did with Mega Charizard X. I mean, just saying. I think that is what a fire dragon should look like. I mean, I still like Reshiram, but anyways, Zekrom, it was just so cool. Like, it's not even kidding. Like, I'm not even kidding. I mean, the red eyes, the black skin, well, scales, because he's a dragon. Blue electricity, I mean, how can you not like that? Fusion Bolt is totally one of my favorites for him. Like, one of my favorite moves for him. Like, whoa. And one of my favorite things about the game is actually the story, because it's a major aspect of the game. You go against, you start a journey with your friends. You challenge gyms, of course, but you also have to deal with this mysterious evil team called Team Plasma. Yeah, you have an evil team in just about every game, but Team Plasma is different. See, they have an ideological message and purpose. They want to take Pokemon away from trainers because they think that people are holding them back and are not good, and it's not good for them to be together. The leader of the group, or the more puppet leader, N, begins to think that, well, I mean, you kind of change his mind. You kind of show him that Pokemon and trainers are meant to be together, which is so cool because it builds a lot of character growth with him, and it really makes it feel like a story. Yes, I like story-centric games. I mean, yeah, and gameplay is cool too, but dude, Pokemon Black and White really nailed it. They gave you a story that you could feel, not just one that was like, oh, that's so cool, but like, oh wow, that's deep, but I love it, you know? Yeah, I started with Oshawott. I ended up with a Samurott, but Samurott. We got Pokemon Silver version. Now I know what you're thinking. Aqua-Jet Brett. Wasn't this like your first Pokemon game ever? And it's only number 2? Well, hey, look. Out of all the games there are, 2 is a pretty good number. I mean, just saying. And yes, it was my first. Yes, it is one of my favorites. But it's not number 1, and it's mostly because, well, yes, I started with it. But that's where I began. Number 1 is where I prefer to be seen now when it comes to Pokemon. Pokemon Silver is great. It's an excellent game. Like, holy crap. The remakes were awesome. Like, off the chain. I get to walk with my Pokemon. That's so cool. Actually, when I played Pokemon Silver as a kid, I always imagined myself walking with my Pokemon. When I was playing the game. Like, I always just pretended like my Pokemon were following me. And in my head, I would have like little conversations with them, like you would see in the anime. Now I started off here in the Johto region, like everyone else in that game. You started off in New Bark Town, and you just keep going and going. A really cool thing about this game is that it allows you to do something that no other Pokemon game does. Gen 2 and the Gen 4 remakes of Gen 2 are, meaning Silver, Gold, Crystal, Heart Gold, and Soul Silver, are the only Pokemon games out there that really allow you to go to a completely different region. I mean, yeah, there's the Sevi Islands and Fire Red and Leaf Green, but that's not really a full-on region as it is just some islands on the outskirts of Kanto. You know? I mean, I don't see it as a region. I see, but Kanto is obviously a different region from Johto. But they're right next to each other, so that's really cool. And I just think that's really, really cool to have that huge post game. And I like how in Oris there was a similar thing they did with post game, but instead of giving us a whole other region, they gave us a whole other story, which I thought was cool. I really did. I thought it was excellent. But I would really like to see a Pokemon game in the future where I get to go to another region, like revisit. I actually started my first playthrough, as I said previously, with a Cyndaquil. While I did technically start with a Totodile, I didn't save with that because I didn't know how to save it until I'd already chosen a Cyndaquil. And at that point, I just wanted to keep going because I was like, "Holy crap! I got a Cyndaquil!" And I learned how to save. So my first playthrough, I had a level 100 Typhlosion, and that was actually the first Pokemon ever. Coming in at number 1, we have a sequel, Pokemon White 2. Totally different. I really like Pokemon White 2 because, I mean, it's got, just like its predecessor, it has a great story, great Pokemon. You get to revisit places you visited in black and white, but you also get to see, like 2 years later, but you also get to see new places, like Aspersa City, Flockacy Town, Burbank. Like, this is the only game where you start out in a city. Like, all the other games I've noticed, you, like, start in a small town. You're just a small town girl, living in a lonely world. To the midnight train to anywhere. Alright, but anyways. Seriously, though. So this is, like, the one time where you're a city kid. Which I think, I mean, I'm not a city kid for the most part, but I still think it's pretty cool. I started off with Emboar. Well, not Emboar, but Tepig. Mostly because I wanted to switch things up. I wanted to, like, see if, okay, I like the Oshawott line. I usually like fire type lines too. So I went ahead and got Tepig. Now, Emboar kind of had to grow on me with his design, but he kind of did. Like, he looks like a Ganondorf. And I'm a Zelda fan, so I thought that was really cool. And that was like the one time I nicknamed a Pokemon, like my starter. The first time I ever nicknamed my starter, I nicknamed my Tepig Ganondorf because I knew he would become an Emboar that looked like Ganondorf. Well, actually, it was Ganon, but still, his nickname was Ganon. Just throwing it out there. It's so cool. I really like the story. Like I said, I like how. Now this is a picture from Black 2, but honestly, I like Black Kyurem better than White Kyurem. But I stuck with White 2 because I like continuity. And also, White 2 had the version exclusives that I liked better than the ones in Black 2. So whatever. And I also like the fact, again, continuity. But anyways, I like how, like, In and Getsus, they're in this with you. I mean, you're still dealing with them. It's mostly like a 2 year later aftermath of Black and White. Team Plasma is on the rise again, led by puppet leader Colress, but still being puppeteered by none other than Getsus. That's why this is number 1, because it's like a continuation. It's like it didn't end. It just kept going, and that's what I like, because I don't want my fun to end. So this is why I like this game, because to be honest, White 2 is totally sick. Like, totally. Well, anyways, this has been my top 5 favorite Pokemon video games.